Celeste is a game that is known for its insane platforming tech, with the primary mechanics being jumping, climbing, and dashing. But what if we couldn't dash? Could a game so heavily reliant on this one mechanic even be remotely possible? Well, today we're gonna find out how far you could get in every Celeste chapter without dashing. Starting with the prologue, you actually don't even have the ability to dash yet. Only when you get to the end of the bridge, where the game just makes you dash. But this can actually entirely be avoided by just skipping the cutscene, allowing the prologue to be done without needing a dash, moving us to Chapter 1. Now here in Chapter 1, the entire chapter can actually be completed without requiring a single dash. So much so that we're actually rewarded with a secret collectible if we do. And if you're cool, you can even grab some strawberries along the way. But it isn't easy by any means. Completing the chapter without utilizing dashing once requires you to precisely corner hop over spikes, but for the span of the entire level. Having specific setup certainly helps out, so it's nothing inhumanely difficult, but since Chapter 1 is entirely possible without dashing, that's a win for us, moving us on to Chapter 2. The chapter proceeds seemingly well before you meet this wall, which requires us to dash into it in order to progress, cutting the run short for Chapter 2 after only 2 screens. So we jump to Chapter 3, with it also starting out seemingly well. We can even maneuver around these spiked blocks to grab the key and enter the hotel, but inside the hotel we quickly meet our end, as this elevated platform is entirely out of our reach, ending the run after just 4 screens. Unfortunately, you might start to see a recurring theme, as Chapter 4 ends almost immediately after just the first screen. We are left entirely unable to do anything, so we enter Chapter 5 with nothing but a dream. But it ends super short as well because we meet these blocks that only move when we dash, and we also have no way to exit the bubbles in the direction that we need, cutting this chapter short just after 4 screens as well. Chapter 6 starts by introducing us to the feather, but it is the shortest chapter by far because it ends before we can even pass 1 screen. We need to dash into this bubble in order to get this feather, which ends the run on the first screen of the chapter. Like Chapter 6 didn't even try, man, like what the fuck. Chapter 7 somehow managed to be worse, ending literally immediately. It's like right there, front and center, like bro. Chapter 8 gives us a little bit of a breather, because get this, we end after 1 screen instead of 0. That's right, we end on the 2nd screen instead of the first one. Isn't that just amazing? Whatever, let's just cut out our losses. At least Chapter 9 won't end in 1 screen too, right? You can't make this up, bro. How? Okay, so we've talked about the A sides of every chapter. So let's go ahead and talk about all the B and C sides as well while we're at it. Oh, and hey, if you're liking the video so far, you should subscribe. I'd really appreciate it and it'd help me out a lot, but yeah, let's get back on track with Chapter 1B. At the start, it may seem like the first screen is impossible to get by without dashing, but if you wall jump off this tiny piece of the wall, then wall jump again off the lower wall, you can precisely climb up to the right, utilizing a wall kick as well to complete the screen without using a single dash. The next screen isn't difficult at all, as you can easily complete it without using a dash since it relies on grabbing and momentum. The next screen gets a little bit tricky since you can't just jump across this gap, but we can utilize corner hopping again to slot in between these sliding blocks to complete the screen. With the next screen being reliant on grabbing and momentum once again, so we can pass it with relative ease. But unfortunately I couldn't find a way to reach this moving block, cutting the run short after a good 4 screens. Chapter 2B starts off by immediately throwing a dream block at us, which is an immediate loss in this run, so we cut early after just 1 screen. But Chapter 3B ends literally immediately as we get greeted with this bridge that we cannot cross. And to no one's surprise, Chapter 4B ends immediately as well. Moving us to Chapter 5B. Well, at first it may seem like we end quickly after just 1 screen, since we have to dash out of the bubbles in order to hit the button to open the door. Where we can actually use corner hopping once again to get around these spikes and hit the button, which allows us to complete the screen. Also, this took like 40 minutes of straight attempts. Please subscribe. The next screen is where it ends though, as we have nothing to do after we corner hop into the second bubble. the B-sides of chapters 6, 7, and 8, and immediately since they all require dashes in one way or another. So we move on to the C-sides. We can progress a little bit in chapter 1C by precisely corner hopping to jump over this array of spikes. But for all I know, that's as far as we can get, as the next line of spikes is longer and impossible to jump over. And chapter 2 starts with dream blocks, baby! And I kid you not, literally the rest of the chapters end basically immediately upon entering. Hell, even chapter 8C ends immediately when it typically takes like a screen or two just of entrance. Well, that's everything. That was really fun to talk about, but this video is especially short because like 90% of the chapters ended on the first screen or so, like come on.